creatively come up with different sort of safe physical activities at home that you can do with your son.
We can use various oromotor exercises. We can make the child smell all kinds of food that we are cooking.
अगर आप ये 1 लीटर पानी में 1 चम्मच डालेंगे, उसे अच्छी तरह से उबाल के रात भर रहने दीजिए, दूसरे दिन छान के बच्चे को वो पानी पिलाइए, तो इससे भूख भी अच्छी बढ़ती है.
If you are having fibroids repeatedly and you've already undergone one surgery, it does not mean that you cannot conceive. You can.
So the baby weight is, it depends on the weight and build of the mother. So a mother who is small in build, short in height and very thin may have a very low baby weight, and still the baby weight would be normal.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's ParentTune Live. The topic for today's live is tooth decay in children, signs, causes, and prevention tips. We're doing this live with pediatric dentist Dr. Saranya K. Thank you, Dr. Saranya, for joining us.
Hi.
Dr. Saranya, what is tooth decay and what causes it?
So tooth decay is something where the bacteria starts growing on the teeth, on the surface of the teeth. It starts destroying the layers, the enamel, and then further on the deeper layers of the teeth, which eventually becomes like a hole on the tooth. So that is basically tooth decay. And how it happens, I think we'll further discuss.
Sure. What are the signs of tooth decay in children, Dr. Saranya?
So the signs can be, the very, very first sign that you see is generally white spots on the teeth or white lines on the teeth. At this stage, normally parents will not be aware that this is a sign of decay. Only when it starts becoming a hole in the tooth do they come to know that it's decay. But the first thing you look for is white spots or stains on the teeth that can indicate that either there is a decay or there is a risk for decay in that tooth.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. I'll take the first question that comes from Megha Maheshwari. And Megha says, how do we spot tooth decay in toddlers at the initial stage?
Initial stage, I'm assuming toddlers, so they have fewer number of teeth. So the easiest and the best time to spot a decay at that age will be when you're brushing the child's tooth or teeth. So when you're brushing the teeth, you can just dry up the tooth with a piece of cotton and you can completely wipe it and see if there are any white lines or white spots on the teeth. At that stage, generally the decay is sort of partially reversible. So if you contact a pediatric dentist at that age, we will tell you what you can do to minimize it or make sure it does not progress further. But the first sign to check at home is to dry the tooth completely with a cloth or with a piece of cotton or gauze or something and look for white spots on the teeth. Mostly children who are still on feed, when they are consuming milk at night, the milk stays stuck onto the teeth overnight and that can sometimes cause decay. That's one of the most common reasons why decay happens in babies or toddlers. So that you can spot easily when the tooth is completely dried out after brushing. And if you notice white spots, that's a red signal for you when you should contact a pediatric dentist for a checkup.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Hope, Megha, you have heard that. In case you have any more questions, please let us know and we'll take them up. Rashi Jain says, ma'am, my 8-year-old has crowding of teeth. Will this get corrected on its own or he will grow up and this will grow up?
Hi Rashi. So see, 8 years old crowding, I am assuming it is the milk teeth have fallen out and the permanent teeth have come in, and that is what you are seeing as crowding. Sometimes a very mild degree of crowding may be normal, which can correct. But if there is significant amount of crowding, if you see teeth that are two placed in the front, two placed in the back, and then so on and so forth, it's better. It might be an indication that this child is either going to need braces later on, or you can just consult a pediatric dentist, because there's a lot of things we do intermittent when the child is still growing up that can correct these at an early stage if possible, and we can make sure that the crowding gets solved out. And if you correct it at an early stage, you may be able to avoid braces later on, or at least the severity of the braces is going to be lesser. Or you can see crowding, that's what. Sometimes it is normal, sometimes if it is too much, now that is a degree that we decide once we see the child. Since I've not seen the child, I cannot completely detail out the treatment plan.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Dr. Saranya, we hear a lot about cavity, and it's also a very common problem that we see in children, especially. Could you just elaborate on what is cavity? Yeah, what is it, and why is it so common in young children?
Okay. See, cavity, like I said, is basically your tooth structure getting disrupted. Now, every time there is food stuck on the tooth, every time there is a layer of food that remains stuck, or it is not brushed out, or it's not cleaned out very well, the food tends to decay. So it's just like any food that you leave outside on a table. Over a period of time, that is going to rot. Now, imagine the same thing happening on your tooth. So every time you are eating something, be it a child or be it an adult, there is some amount of digestion of the food that happens in the mouth. Every time this digestion happens, there is a little bit of tooth enamel that wears out, but normally in a couple of hours, this restores back to its normal form. But when this process keeps happening and there is not enough time for the tooth to heal, or if the food is stuck on, so in typically children where night brushing does not happen, the food stays stuck onto the teeth for a very long time. Or in children where there is a lot of crowding in between teeth, the food has higher risk of getting stuck in between teeth. Now, when there is so much of contact between food and teeth, the risk for decay increases. So now there is a constant bacterial growth that is happening in that area where food is sitting and rotting. And when this bacterial growth happens, the tooth tends to lose out its minerals. That is when the first stage of decay that I told you, which is the white spots that appear on the teeth. That's just the minerals coming out of the tooth because of the constant bacterial growth and constant acid that is being released in that area for digesting the food that is stuck there. So when this happens, the decay starts. That is your very, very first stage of decay. Now, over a period of time, even after the food is cleared out in that moment, since the decay has already started, it is not automatically going to reverse back without a checkup or without some intervention or without supplementing the tooth with some amount of fluoride or some treatment per se. So if it progresses, the next thing you see is brown stains in between teeth or on the grooves of the biting surface of the back teeth, or even in the front teeth, in between teeth is normally where you see your first signs of decay. Now this white turns to brown, and at the stage at which the child will start telling you that there is an issue is generally when there is a hole in the tooth. Slowly, when the bacterial growth keeps on increasing, so it is a very slow process. It takes a few months for it to reach from the white spot to the brown spot to the hole in the tooth. So when it comes to the hole in the tooth stage, the child is normally going to tell you things like food is getting stuck in my teeth, or when I eat chocolate, I feel some sort of pain. But then again, when the child brushes away the food that is stuck there, there is some amount of relief in the pain. This is generally your first sign. Now, when this worsens is when the child complains that there is pain. The pain stage is normally the last stage of decay. Unfortunately, that is when the parents generally notice it, or when the child comes and tells them is when they take them to the dentist. But that's pretty much the last stage of decay. Initial decay is just because your minerals from the tooth are going out. There is constant bacterial growth happening in that area, which is causing destruction of the tooth.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. That's very well explained. And like you mentioned that when there's a warning sign, that is a time when parents actually see a pediatric dentist, and that's pretty late. So, according to you, when should one see a pediatric dentist? And for children, for toddlers, for babies, at what age should the first visit be with a pediatric dentist?
So ideal situation, the first visit should be as soon as the first tooth comes in the mouth. So that can be around 6 months for some children. Some children it can be 1 year. Some children even 1.5 years. It is something you cannot have a definite timeline, but somewhere between 6 months to 1.5 years is when the first tooth comes into the mouth. Ideally, that is the time when you should meet a pediatric dentist. This first appointment, the parent should not panic about it because it is not a treatment visit. It's more so just a visit to check if everything is going in the right direction. Because we advise the parent to start cleaning even the gums of the child even before the first tooth comes in. We advise them to start cleaning the gums every time the child feeds and every time the child sleeps and wakes up. So we just want the mouth to be clean. Now, when the first tooth comes in is when you have to actually start brushing. But then for the parent to understand how to brush, what to use while brushing, it's not an easy task. So we advise that when the first tooth comes in, just take a visit for understanding how and what to use, how to use it, how to prevent decay from happening. So we keep an extended session, which is basically counseling for the parents and just doing a checkup and seeing how what the child's diet is, what is the frequency of snack consumption or all those things, and we just look out and counsel the parents. Ideally, that is the first time, and typically don't wait till the child comes and tells you there is a problem. Basically, that.
Thank you. Thank you. And how often should one see a dentist?
Ideally, once in 6 months would be great for a child who does not have much decay in the mouth. Once in 6 months. So our the dynamics of the mouth for the child keeps changing very, very quickly. So a child who may not be snacking right now can start snacking 3 months later, and then that can lead to a consequence another 3 months later. So ideally, 6 months is a good spacing for us to keep a tab on what is happening. But if the child is a little more prone to decay, or if there has already been a lot of treatments that have been done in the mouth and the risk for decay is higher, then sometimes we even say 3 months. At the same time, having said that, if the child has no risk for decay and has consecutively shown every 6 months that there is nothing that is going wrong, sometimes we even say that we can have a checkup once in a year. So it depends on how much at risk the child is for decay or any other problems in the mouth.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Suranya. I'll take Shona's question next. Shona Jain says, my child who's 2 years and 2 months old has cavities in his teeth. He has been on bottle feed since birth. He eats more of chocolates and candies. Since these are his temporary teeth, do I need to get treatment done?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you need to get treatment done. So we cannot completely restrict chocolate from a child's diet. That is basically their childhood. So I think it is wrong to say that the child should not eat chocolate at all. Instead, I would prefer we reinforce that every time the child eats chocolate, the child goes and brushes it out or cleans the teeth to make sure that the chocolate is not getting stuck there. As a parent, what we can do is we can minimize the snacking. So instead of giving chocolate at random times, we can give it immediately after a meal as a dessert. And after the whole meal plus dessert is done, the child can rinse it off and then not have chocolate at any other time during the day. That way also you're minimizing the risk. Second thing, yes, your milk teeth or your temporary teeth have to be treated because underneath those teeth is where your permanent teeth lie. So the milk teeth don't just serve the purpose of eating. They are also meant to hold the space intact so that your permanent teeth come out in the right place. They are also supposed to serve other functions of guiding the permanent teeth in its right position. So for all these purposes, it is always good to clean up and fill and maintain the milk teeth in its correct position until the permanent teeth come out.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. We are joined by Parentune expert pediatric dentist Dr. Saranya, and we're talking about tooth decay in children, the signs, causes, and prevention in this Parentune Live. Please ask your questions and we'll take them up in a short while. Arulmari Paul Raj. says, "Hi doctor, how to make them brush properly? And if we brush them, they used to swallow the paste instead of spitting it. What kind of paste and brush to be used for children?" And she says, "My child is 2 years and 8 months old."
Okay. For a 2 years, 8 months old baby, it is kind of normal for them to swallow the toothpaste. I mean, it's if you have ever tasted a baby toothpaste, it tastes something like jams and jelly. So the taste is nice. The idea of having that flavor is to motivate them to even use the toothpaste. So if the child is swallowing, it's okay. Let the child cross 3.5 years of age. Slowly, the child generally grows out of this paste. It's just a paste. The toothpaste you will use now is your basic kids toothpaste, which is your age appropriate ones you get in the market. You have something that is marked 0 to 2 and then 2 to 6 and so on and so forth. After a certain age, say after the child turns 6 or after the child learns how to spit the toothpaste out, you can slowly move the child to an adult toothpaste. It's just that the quantity you will use of the adult toothpaste is going to be very minimal. It's as much as a rice grain amount of toothpaste. You can slowly move to an adult toothpaste, but not yet because the child is still swallowing. The swallowing is not so it's not so dangerous for a kid's toothpaste because the amount of fluoride in it is comparatively lesser than an adult toothpaste. So if the child is swallowing now, you can just try to slowly wean the child out of that habit. The maybe use a lesser quantity of toothpaste that will make sure there's not too much lather in the mouth that is making the child swallow it. And your toothbrush per se, you just need to make sure the head of the toothbrush is small, the handle of the toothbrush is good enough for you to hold it, and you're able to reach every corner of the mouth and every corner of every tooth. That is all you need to look for in a kid's toothbrush. I hope I've answered them.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Arun Marie, we hope you've heard that. And in case you have any more questions, please write back to us and we'll take it up. Bonita Biswas says, "My child is 7 years old. Her permanent teeth are getting unaligned. However, her temporary teeth were really aligned and beautiful. What could be the cause for the same, as none of us in the family have front two teeth unaligned? What can be done? Please guide me. Also, what is the right age for getting the treatment started?"
Okay, so typically the teeth are not necessarily unaligned, like you're saying. So what happens is if you're trying to compare it to the size of your baby teeth, your milk teeth or your temporary teeth, the size of your permanent teeth is bigger. And they will generally not come in the exact same position as your milk teeth. Since the tooth is bigger and wider, you tend to feel that they are a little forward or they are a little positioned in a different way. Most of the times these things get corrected as the child grows up. Having said that, you must also check if your child has any habits like mouth breathing. If your child keeps her mouth open at night, or if there is a habit of pushing the tongue through and pushing the through the teeth, or pushing the teeth with the tongue. If any such habit is there, then we might have to intervene and break the habit rather than correcting the teeth. So at this moment, you will not need to put braces or anything, but if you consult a pediatric dentist, then what we generally do is we evaluate for presence of any habits, predominantly mouth breathing or tongue thrusting, as we call it. If there is no such habit, then we let the things autocorrect. Your teeth, eventually, when all the other adjacent permanent teeth will come down, you will see that they start coming in a line. But if there is a habit, then we will try to break the habit so that the teeth come back to its right position. Other than this, at this age, no correction per se is needed. Um, Later on, if you ask me when to start braces or something, that's probably when all the permanent teeth have come in and settled in the mouth is when we start braces. But that's too far-fetched a thought to think about right now. Right now, we will just focus on if there is any habit that is causing this. It may not be hereditary, because habits are not generally hereditary, but if there is a habit, we will correct the habit now rather than correcting the teeth position immediately.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Dr. Saranya, what is the role of sugar? Since a lot of parents have this issue that my child really likes to have chocolates and candies, and that is leading to tooth decay. So, why does sugar intake, or for that matter, drinks, the caffeinated drinks like the beverages, what is the link between that and issues in the teeth?
Okay. See, sugar or caffeinated drinks. So this is not particularly for children only. It is the same for children and adults. The higher amount of sugar you consume, of course, the risk of decay is more because sugar ferments around your teeth. When that happens, again, like I mentioned earlier, there is a release of there is some acid and bacteria that comes together to digest the food that is there. For sugar, the bacteria, the environment that forms in your mouth is more conducive for bacterial growth as compared to the other fibrous or regular vegetables and fruits or even natural sugars that you take in for that matter. But the processed sugars that you get, that gives a very conducive environment for the bacteria to grow and to multiply. So that increases your risk of decay. Now, more than the amount of sugar you consume, it's how frequently the sugar or the aerated beverages are taken. So if the child is, like I said, if the child is taking one piece of dessert after a meal and then rinsing his or her mouth, the risk for decay is not as much. But if the child is going to take breakfast and then after an hour or so, again, snack on some sweet, then another snack and then lunch and then a couple of snacks in between and then dinner, you're not giving your mouth, the child's mouth, enough time to recover from all the bacterial growth that has happened. If there is, so basically it's the frequency. So if you have to give the child sweet, try to combine it along with a meal. If not combined with a meal, make sure that when the child takes sweets, it's not like I said, it's not right to tell the child to completely abstain from chocolates and sweets and take their childhood away. So that's something you cannot take away from a child. So if you have to give it to them, try to combine it with a meal. And after every sugary food, be it a drink, be it chocolate, be it anything other than natural sugars, any processed sugars, you just have to make sure that the child has rinsed his or her mouth or brushed away anything that is stuck on the teeth. And if possible, the kind of sugar that you give, try to moderate that. The amount, the kind, and the frequency. These are the three things you really need to keep in your mind. The amount of sugar is again depends on the child, how much he prefers to take. The kind of sugar, try to give things that dissolve quickly as compared to things that are sticky. So there are candies which stick onto the teeth for a really long time. But if you give the child some juices, then the juice, if they take it in with a straw, it is in contact with teeth for a very small amount of time. The risk for decay reduces there. So anything that does not stick onto the teeth, anything which is not very sticky. So caramelized chocolates stick on for longer. Normal chocolates that melt in the mouth don't stick on for longer. And if you rinse it out, it comes out. But caramel doesn't come out that easily. This is one example. So similarly, just look at what the child is eating. Try to avoid things that stick for longer and try to reduce the frequency of the intake.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Saranya. I'll take the next question that comes from Shruti Beniwal. And Shruti says, my child is 5 years old and he has gap between his front two teeth. What can be done to reduce this gap? Are there any natural ways to reduce this gap also? Also, please suggest some food items which can help with the same issue.
At 5 years of age, Shruti, I would not advise you to do anything. It is a transient gap if it is there. It's probably the permanent teeth that are there above the tooth, that the position of the permanent teeth is causing this gap. Also, if it is a natural gap and it's always been there, it is a good thing that there are gaps in between your milk teeth. Your milk teeth should always have gaps in between because of the simple logical reason that milk teeth are smaller. Your permanent teeth that come out after 7 years of age are bigger. So these gaps come very handy, very useful when the permanent teeth come in. These gaps get utilized by the permanent teeth, and then your permanent teeth come out in proper alignment. The issues that we have with crowding and the issues that we have with tooth coming front or back, that does not happen in children who have milk teeth which are placed sufficiently apart from each other. So if there are gaps at 5 years of age, it is good. Don't try to close it. Don't try to correct it. Let it be. It's there's no natural way to close it. There is no need to do anything for that right now.
Thank you. Shruti, we hope you've heard that. Please write back to us in case you have any more questions. Prakash Pandit has a 6-year-old son, and Prakash is asking this question from Pune. Prakash says, my son is in the habit of thumb sucking. He's 6 years old. We have been trying since a long time to get rid of this habit, but it's not really helping. What can be the fallout of this habit? Will it affect his teeth as well? Please suggest some handy tips to get rid of this.
Yes, thumb sucking going beyond 3 years of age does have its own repercussions. So what happens is when the thumb goes in the mouth, there is concurrent pressure on your upper front teeth, your lips, and the palate, your upper jaw. So when there is constant pressure there, your upper jaw's development gets hampered. Your upper front teeth can start coming front, especially after 6 years of age when your milk teeth are falling out and your permanent teeth are going to start coming in. If there is a constant pressure, yes, that can cause a problem. Now, treatment wise, what we do is either at home, what you can do, you can give the child to wear some long sleeved clothes at night. First, we have to figure out if what is the root cause, why this is happening. Sometimes finding out the cause, sometimes if the child goes for some counseling to evaluate why the thumb sucking is happening, if is it because of a recent happening at home, some insecurity, or because the child is just plain bored. We have to figure out why it's happening and try to treat that. If that is sorted, the other thing you can do is give the child some long sleeved clothing which go beyond the hand, and you can put a rubber band at the end of the sleeve beyond the hand, so the child does not unconsciously put the finger in the mouth. If none of these work, of course, most of it parents generally try at home already, putting chili and neem and bitter things on the finger so that the child doesn't put the finger in the mouth. So if none of this has worked, and even long sleeved gowns don't work, there are thumb guards that we give that make sure that the finger, it's more of a reminder therapy for the child. If none of it work, then clinically we try to put a guard inside the mouth which makes sure that the thumb does not come in contact with the teeth or the palate, and we try to prevent further damages that can occur because of the habit. So if at home remedies, if you want to try, you can try with putting neem or any bitter chili or something on the finger so that the child doesn't suck on it. Or you can try wearing long sleeved clothing, which can prevent unconsciously placing the finger in the mouth.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Deepa from Bangalore says, my kids are fond of eating more sweets and chocolates. They eat chocolates almost every single day. Though I brush their teeth every day, I'm much worried about tooth decay. So far, they do not have any decayed tooth. Can you please give me some tips to prevent that it does not happen in the future as well?
So far, if your children do not have decay, clearly you're doing something right. That in spite of taking in so much sugar, there is good. If the brushing is going on right and there is no decay, there is nothing much to worry. Like I said, try to just reduce the frequency of eating sugar gradually. It is not going to happen in one day. So just try to reduce the frequency as they grow up, and just make sure that the brushing is going fine. Apart from this, there are a lot of preventive procedures that we do in clinic, like we seal up the grooves on your teeth, and we make sure that food or chocolates or anything does not get stuck in the grooves, and the chance for decay comes down. We also apply fluoride varnish professionally in the clinic, which again reduces the risk of decay in children. So that the fluoride varnish is something we do on a yearly basis or 6 monthly basis, depending on the risk of decay in the particular child. So if you want to add on to what you're already doing, you can just meet a pediatric dentist and get the fluoride varnish and the sealants, these preventive procedures done, so that it is a little more reassuring that at least one risk has been eliminated. Other than that, just controlling the amount, quantity, and frequency of sugar and regular brushing will do the job at home.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Avni from Patna says, my child is 1 year and 5 months old. He does not have a single teeth out yet. Is this normal?
It can be normal. Typically, boys tend to have a little delayed eruption of teeth. So it can be normal, but if you are very, very concerned and if you don't even notice bumps, generally teeth come out before the teeth come out, we notice some bumps on the gums, on the upper and lower front teeth region. There is a little bumpy layer of gums that we see. If you don't see that also, and if you're really concerned, what we can do is you can go to a nearby dentist. We can just take a X-ray and just assess if there is anything that is hindering the eruption of the tooth. If there is nothing hindering, then probably we will check if there is any deficiencies, any vitamin D deficiencies or anything. If nothing is there, then you can just keep massaging on the gum pads around the upper and lower front teeth region. A simple finger plain, just clean your finger nicely and massage on the gum pads. We are just trying to increase the circulation in that area and stimulating the eruption of teeth. So if you're very, very paranoid, we can just take an X-ray and see and show you the position of the teeth and assess if there is anything that is blocking the eruption.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Dr. Saranya, how important is brushing twice a day?
There is no amount of important, I mean, it's extremely important. That is your one mantra for keeping decay away from your teeth. So brushing in the morning is something that is routine. Everybody does it. Brushing at night is way more important because during the day, at least the child is consuming water. There is a lot of saliva in the mouth when the child is talking. The child keeps rinsing their mouth. So anything that is stuck throughout the day, some way or the other, is cleaned out or flushed out. But at night, when the child is, in case of a toddler, when the child is just drinking milk and falling asleep, or in case of a slightly grown-up child also where the night brushing is not happening, the mouth stays dry throughout the night. And when the mouth is dry in that atmosphere, again, the chances of bacteria multiplying is very high. So the risk for decay also increases exponentially at night. During the day, like I said, everything keeps getting flushed out. So the risk, there is no food stuck anywhere. So the chances of decay is also lesser. But night brushing, any amount of emphasis on it is not going to be enough. So it is extremely important to brush at night. And sometimes in some kids, we might also advise flossing. So like in the other child we spoke about, there were gaps in teeth. Such children don't generally need flossing. But if the teeth are placed too close together, or if there is any crowding in teeth, flossing can also be a good idea to make sure that nothing is stuck in the teeth, especially at night.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. I was actually asking the same question. I wanted to ask you how important is flossing, but you've already covered that. Thank you so much. Um, the next question comes from Manisha, and Manisha is asking this from Jaipur. She says, which toothpaste and toothbrush are to be ideally used for a 1 year old child? Is there a specification in terms of what it should contain, what it should not contain?
At 1 year old, it is going to be very difficult. I assume there are hardly 4 or 5 teeth in the mouth at that age. So if it's going to be really difficult for you to brush. So try to use a finger brush to start with. It is a silicone brush that you can just wear on your finger. Maneuvering a big brush in such a small baby is going to be very difficult. So a finger brush will be easier for the parent to handle. And a toothpaste, you can start with a very basic infant toothpaste that you get in market. It can be non-fluoridated to begin with because the risk of swallowing is way higher. So you can start with a non-fluoridated toothpaste till the parent gets a hang of how to brush and how to clean. Once the parent is very confident, they can move on to a slightly fluoridated toothpaste. That's your basic kids toothpaste. But initially, start with a non-fluoridated toothpaste. It's available across a lot of brands in any pharmacy or supermarkets. Any non-fluoridated toothpaste to start with, and finger brush for a 1 year old will be good. Later on, you can change age appropriate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saranya. Priyanka says, what precautions are to be taken for a 3 year old who's fond of fried foods like pakora, samosa, French fries, etc.? Also, my child hates to brush his teeth. So now that's a very tricky situation here. What would you like to tell Priyanka?
Fried foods per se, I do not have any like. I mean, it's like any other food. So food, anything, even chapati, if it's stuck on the tooth for a very long time, is going to cause decay. It's not that it's fried or it's baked or it's steamed. No, that does not really matter. The mode of cooking does not matter. So it's more of how frequently the French fries are eaten. If they're all eaten in one sitting, and then after that the child brushes or rinses the mouth, then there is not much of an issue. But if the one packet of French fries goes on for like 2-3 hours and child goes on munching or goes on snacking, yes, the risk for decay is very high. Having said that, it's not just fried food, even steamed food or even your baked food taken continuously or taken in short intervals of time during the day can cause decay. As for the child not liking brushing, 90% of them do not. It is something that, so it's like if the child doesn't like bathing, we don't stop bathing the child. So it's brushing is as important as bathing. You're cleaning the skin, you clean the teeth as well. So it's a habit that slowly comes on. Maybe you can brush along with your child so that when the child sees you brushing, they get motivated. And of late, there are a lot of cartoon-based videos that are there on YouTube that play music, which even have a timer of 2 minutes. And watching the video while brushing can also encourage the child to brush more, or it can be a family event, or you can maybe give one toothbrush in the child's hand and let them toy around your mouth for them to understand that it is important. And as it's a slow learning process. It's no child comes out very enthusiastic about brushing so early in life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Saranya. Shweta says, I see cavity like yellowish mark. What in she's not mentioned the age of her child, but she said she's seen cavity like yellowish mark. What can I do to remove those?
If you're seeing a yellowish mark, that is probably the second stage that I have mentioned earlier. It's your first was probably a white spot, which is now slowly turning yellow. There's nothing much you can do at home to clean it, but if you visit a dentist, we might probably just brush it off and check if it has already become a hole or if there is a chance that it's going to become a hole. There are things we can do clinically. We can either brush off the stain, or we can clean it up, put a cement there and cover it up, or something of that sort. But at home, there is not much you can do other than just make sure that there is no food stuck around the yellow spot till the time you can get to a dentist. Brush it, keep it clean, and then see a dentist. Only your dentist will be able to fix it.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Neha from Mumbai says, can you please suggest some simple tips for dental care for a 6-year-old child?
Okay, so at 6 years old, at-home dental care comes down to the same basic thing, which is brushing. The child is still not going to be able to brush on their own. At least it has to be supervised. Try and make sure that the parent is brushing for the child. The child is probably will be doing a great job at mimicking the parents' brushing activities. They know the brush goes in the mouth, it's supposed to lather, and then we are supposed to spit. But to maneuver a brush inside the mouth, taking it to every nook and corner is not going to be an easy task for a 6-year-old. So preferably the parent should take care of the oral hygiene practices. Second thing you want to look at, when the child is 6, the permanent teeth start coming into the mouth. And those permanent teeth not necessarily are the front teeth that come after the milk teeth fall off. Right at the back, behind the existing milk teeth, you see some permanent teeth, a new teeth coming out. Those are your permanent teeth. And when those come out, there is a layer of gum covering that is there. Chances of food getting stuck in that area is also higher. So now at 6, the hygiene has to be very, very good, because our target is not just the milk teeth. We are also trying to protect the permanent teeth that are just freshly coming into the mouth. So once they have come out, you can just visit a pediatric dentist. We will start doing the preventive procedure. It is at that age that we start doing things like sealing up the grooves on the teeth, start doing fluoride varnishes on the teeth, repeat the varnishes every year so that the decay process never starts in the first place.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you so much for answering that. The next question comes from Purni, who says, my daughter often has this issue of swollen gums. She has this habit of biting nails. She's 9 years old. Please guide what should I do. Also, give some tips to make her stop her nail biting habit.
Nail biting, probably just trim the nails and keep it. See, nail biting, if the nails are going and poking on the gums continuously, that can also cause gum inflammation. Or if there is any, just get the teeth checked for any plaque or calculus or tartar that is stuck near the teeth, which is causing the inflammation of the gums. Generally, a round of cleaning of the gums, that will bring down all the bleeding and inflammation and the swelling. Sometimes the swelling can also happen as a secondary reaction to some of the medications if the child is on any other kind of medications. So just show it. If needed, we will ask for a medical history and take any details that we need from you. But mostly it is usually just because of plaque and tartar that accumulates around the gums. And once that gets cleaned out, the swelling in the gums might come down. So without a clinical assessment and checking in the clinic, I cannot give you any specific treatment plan for that. Brushing will help you. Brush and a little amount of bleeding while brushing if the gums are swollen is normal, but that should not stop you from brushing further. Just make sure you're brushing well, keeping the gums as clean as you possibly can. When you come to nail biting, it's probably boredom or stress related. We have to again figure out why it is happening. Nothing clinically is going to make the child stop. All you can do is trim the nails frequently, make sure it is always clean so that no infection gets carried into the mouth and then into the body. And like you do with thumb sucking, try to make them wear mittens or gloves or something when you see that the child can, like, mostly if you think the child is only biting nails when she's watching TV or something, at that time probably give the child some gloves or mittens to wear so that they stay distracted, or they are conscious that they should not be biting their nails and they are aware of when to do what.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Megha says, my son sleeps with his mouth open. What can I do about that?
Sleeping with mouth open is not acceptable at any age, be it child or adult. For an infant, yes, sometimes it is kind of normal, but just try to make sure that you are slightly closing the jaw. Now, it again depends on what age the child is at. Sleeping with mouth open can be in an older child, it can be a consequence of recurrent throat infection or tonsils or any blockage in the nose. Only when there is something that is blocking the normal breathing or the normal airway of the child will the child try to open and breathe from the mouth. If there is nothing blocking, then it's probably just a habit. And we give, if depending on the age of the child, the treatment will vary. If it's an infant, we generally don't treat anything. You can just consciously try to close the mouth back. If it is an older child, when the teeth have already erupted and we see some changes in the jaw structure because of this habit, then we might intervene and give some corrective things so that the habit stops, or sometimes it might even need an ENT evaluation. I don't know the age of this child, so I cannot answer very specifically.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Saranya. Dr. Saranya, what are the early signs of dental trouble?
Dental trouble is a very vast topic. So early signs of which dental trouble are you trying to look at?
You could focus on tooth decay itself.
Tooth decay early signs. First thing, the early signs is something only a parent can catch while they are brushing the child's tooth. That's the time when you will notice if there is any stain or hole or anything. Early signs, if the parent notices, are these, but mostly what I see in my practice is they come when the child is complaining that there is food stuck in my tooth, or when I eat chocolate, I suddenly get pain, but when I brush it off, the pain goes away. Or the worst case is when the child suddenly wakes up with pain at night, or they wake up in the morning and they say they have had tooth pain all night. Now, at that stage, that means the cavity has gone really deep, and the treatment is also going to be according to that. That child might need a root canal or child might need a tooth removal, depends. So early, if the child is coming to you, that means there is already a hole in the tooth and it has to be treated by us. If the parent is noticing it, then if the parent looks and checks and finds a white spot or something, good brushing, good toothpaste will take care of most of it. Or maybe we give a few adjunct of tooth creams that we recommend after brushing at night, depending on the situation we clinically prescribe. So all these home care techniques will take care of early signs till it is just on the stain stage. Once there is a ditch, it cannot be taken care of at home.
Right. Thank you so much. Also, are dental x-rays safe and needed in some cases?
Absolutely. So dental x-rays, they help us assess the extent of the decay. So when it is really superficial, we don't usually take x-rays. When it is a very small ditch, again, we don't take x-rays because it's clinically entirely visible. Now, when the child has pain, or when the child complains of sensitivity, or when the child complains that food is getting stuck, we generally prefer to take an x-ray to see how deep the cavity has gone. That helps us in diagnosing what kind of diagnosis, and to decide what kind of treatment the child will need. Also in kids, x-rays, they help us to they show us where the permanent teeth are seated above or below the milk teeth. So it kind of gives us a whole picture of the diagnosis and what kind of treatment plan the child is going to need. As when you talk about safety, yes, it's absolutely safe. The exposure rate is much lesser than any other leg or chest x-ray that you take. The exposure is very minimal. There's a lot of technology has come up quite a bit to minimize the exposure more and more for children. So yes, it is completely safe, and we do need it when for diagnosis purpose.
Thank you. Anushka from Hyderabad says, my 7-year-old likes to bite 10 to 12 ice cubes in a day. Is this normal? Is this a psychological issue, or should I consult a dentist?
Definitely the biting is not because of a dental issue. So a dentist, what will happen is if there's too much ice cubes, the child can have sensitivity. Any extreme temperatures can cause sensitivity in teeth, be it children or adult. Other than that, biting of ice cubes, if the child bites on it too hard from the front teeth, there is a risk the tooth might chip or something. So if that is not happening and the child is just sucking on it and dissolving it in the mouth, it is just a phase. It might just go over a period of time. And maybe it is, it's just a psychological growing phase. I don't think it really needs any intervention. As long as the child is not biting hard on the ice cube, or the child does not have sensitivity to that cold, it's all right.
Thank you so much. Dr. Saranya, please suggest 3 do's and 3 don'ts for healthy teeth in children.
All right. So do's, the one mantra, which is your brushing, morning brushing, night brushing more than anything else. Flossing if you think the teeth are placed too close together, and giving a high fiber diet, which can itself be self-cleansing, and visiting a dentist every 6 months for just a regular checkup can keep most problems at bay. Don'ts will predominantly be avoiding processed sugars, avoiding the frequency, reducing the frequency of snacking. Maybe breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner, that is appropriate, but too much of snacking in between these can increase the risk of decay. If you notice that the child has any habit where the child is pushing the tongue through, or if there is breathing from the mouth, or sleeping with mouth open, or snoring, or any of that, consult a pediatric dentist. We might just check if there is anything else going on, and we will treat these conditions early enough so that it does not become a bigger problem later on. So don't ignore anything that you see. Milk teeth have to be treated, and assuming that milk teeth hai, gir jayega, and you don't have to treat it is definitely a don't.
Thank you, Dr. Saranya. Thank you so much for giving out this valuable information in today's live and talking about some important tips and the do's and the don'ts. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be back again on Monday with a Plus Live on how to handle anger and irritation in your child. And we'll do this with clinical psychologist Kumkum Jagdish. And the timings would be 2:30 to 3:30. Please join us. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much, Dr. Saranya.
Thank you. Thank you, Shani.
sort of safe physical activities at home that you can do with your son.
We can use various oromotor exercises. We can make the child smell all kinds of food that we are cooking.
अगर आप ये 1 लीटर पानी में 1 चम्मच डालेंगे, उसे अच्छी तरह से उबाल के रात भर रहने दीजिए, दूसरे दिन छान के बच्चे को वो पानी पिलाइए, तो इससे भूख भी अच्छी बढ़ती है.
If you are having fibroids repeatedly and you've already undergone one surgery, it does not mean that you cannot conceive. You can.
So the baby weight is, it